Robert Peston has a new landmark 3-part television series beginning tonight entitled Robert Peston Goes Shopping. Tonight's first hour-long episode consists entirely of watching Robert go shopping at his local supermarket. Next week, Robert Peston goes to the till, and in the final climactic edition, Robert loads the car and drives off. Robert's here. This sounds terrific. I can hardly wait.
It is incredibly exciting. It's precisely as you described. It's an imaginative new approach to television. Now, in between seeing the domestic side of me, which plainly, an expectant nation, has been longing for, there is also quite a lot about the history of British obsession with shopping, which, some people, including myself, actually think is quite interesting.
Go on, then. Get to the interesting bit.
Right. So, we look at the history of British retailing since the war. Start with a period of austerity when broadly you got what you were given when you went to a shop. There was no choice, and no ability to look for discounts. Incredible regulation of prices. We didn't get the great boom when price controls were abolished and constraints on banks lending to us were also removed, so we went shopping mad. We borrowed and borrowed and borrowed to buy all sorts of stuff which we thought was going to make us much happier, until we got to the great crisis of 2007-2008, when we woke up one morning and discovered we had too many debts. We couldn't go on shopping at the same rate, and at the same time the traditional retailers faced this extraordinary existential challenge from the internet. And so we reflect a bit about what our obsession, our addiction with shopping has done to the British economy, and where we go now.
And what would you say, what do we learn in this first hour? What questions arise in our mind apart from what's going wrong with television commissioning?
Well, I love the first part because it's
a lot of foreign travel.
It's actually, funnily enough, disappointing me actually on this particular occasion.
Do you get to go abroad in future editions?
I didn't go to the West Indies, which is desperate. I mean, there was a strong case for it. No, it's a social and cultural history. Really,
okay.
Its first one, and
studio based.
No, lots of walking around Britain, which I love, and. What did I learn? I've been steeped in this subject for 25 years. It was one of the reasons I was keen to do it. What we look at is, how we moved from a nation where we saved up for the things that we wanted into this consumerist society. We look at the rise of the extraordinarily powerful chains like Marks and Spencer and Tesco. We look at the influence of emigre families, particularly the Jewish dynasties, very similar to my own kind of background. Sadly, we don't have the money in my family, but nonetheless, the kind of Jewish dynasties which remade the high street, the Marxes and Siefs at Marks and Spencer, Cohen at Tesco. I mean, it is fascinating the way that so many of these entrepreneurs, which haven't just had an economic impact, but as I say, have also had a cultural and social impact in Britain, were people who arrived here and with nothing.
And where do we, at the risk of showing everybody your full stall at this stage, where does the series end up? Where are you by the end of part 3? Are you able to tell us that?
Well, I can't give away the exciting ending, as it were. But what we look at is the issue of whether Amazon, which is now the most powerful retailer in the world, is good or bad for us. There's this issue of the tax that it doesn't pay, but there's also the question of how it's been able to cut prices for all of us. There's also this impact. We've had Mary Portas being a bit grumpy with MPs today.
This afternoon, yeah.
She's been talking about her review of the high street, and plainly we look at what the prospects for the high street are.
People will want to know two things now, I think. When is this item going to stop? And the second thing they want to know is, when is the programme on?
The programme is on at 9 o'clock this evening, and on BBC Two. On BBC Two. Apparently, it clashes with quite a popular programme on another channel. But I don't think anybody will want to watch anything.
People can take the newsroom. It's fine.
They could. I think people will want to watch this live. as it goes out.
It's going to be a Twitter sensation. You've got to watch it live.
Didn't you describe it as appointment television? I think when you weren't being mean to me, that is how you described it.
I said it was disappointment television. But it's 9 o'clock on BBC Two, and I, for one, can't wait. Robert Peston, thank you.
And now on PM. The PM Tian Tian the Panda possible pregnancy news update.
There's no news.
That was the PM Tian Tian the Panda possible pregnancy news update.
Did you watch it?
Well, unfortunately, I was watching the cat, but a lot of people did watch it. Jackie Harding, PM listener, thank you for recommending Robert Peston's programme that was on last evening. I wasn't going to watch it, but with such a glowing reference, how could I miss it? I actually quite enjoyed it and found it laced with a certain amount of nostalgia.
Jackie, that was it?
I watched Doc Martin later. Jackie Harding.
Lovely person, Jackie Martin.
The Guardian said simply listening to Robert Peston is a 21st century thrill. Isn't that nice?
That's what you feel, isn't it?
I didn't say that. The audience figure's not quite so encouraging. Have you seen the overnights? Doc Martin got 8 million in your slot. Motorway Cops on BBC One 2.3. Celebrity Big Brother 2.2. But you did 1.3, which is equal fourth.
That's very nice. Now, funnily enough, you've done this to me before. So I actually did a little bit of research on Eddie Mair's ratings when he presents Newsnight. Would you like the numbers?
That would be happening again. Go on.
Well, the numbers are more or less exactly half what I got last night.
Really? Well, if we're going to talk about numbers, do you know there are more people listening to you now than watched your programme last night?
Well, I would be incredibly disappointed if the magnetism of your personality wasn't responsible for that. But the main point was that the programme was an absolute joy.
Good. I've taped it. As soon as the cat's dry.
And I'm waiting, obviously, for the BBC to commission a 3-part documentary series from you. And then we can look at the numbers. But we may have to wait a long time.
We will. Robert, thank you very much. Robert Peston.